Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Collective Creative Initiative. It's amazing to see you all here on this wonderful Wednesday. Hope you're all very, very well. We have a very special guest with us today. I'm very excited about the wonderful Sophie Holland, and we're going to bring her in a moment. Now, just a little bit of the setup about this one. We're here for an hour and a half, and we're chatting all about Sophie's career as well as TV casting, do's and don'ts, what Sophie likes to see, and so on and so forth. If you have subscribed, then you'll be able to use the comment box. So please use that straight from the off. Start asking questions. We will be talking for a bit, but there's a little bit of a delay as you send your messages in and when we receive them. So, as we go through, we will look at those, and I'll try and stay on top of them. I'm sorry if we don't get to cover everyone's questions here today. We will be covering lots of topics and stuff, so maybe we cover the question that you ask anyway. So without further ado, let's welcome the wonderful Sophie Holland. Hi.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you for being here. How wonderful. And is it sunny where you are? Is it a lovely day?
No, it's not as nice as it has been, but I hear it's going to warm up a little bit, so we shall see.
It's been incredible. It's been like we think we live in the Dordogne down here. I tell you what, it's incredible.
I can actually hear the birds singing outside your window. That's how it is there. It's really nice.
They are singing. The building work has finally stopped across the road, so I've opened the window because it's a little bit warm.
Lovely, lovely.
So let's talk all about TV casting, or casting in general. Obviously, The Witcher, and you're also working on The Young Wallander. Is that how it's said?
I think that's how it's said in Sweden, but we just say Wallander. Yeah, like the heathens we are. I mean, that's what we called it. But yeah, that's going to come out soon. So that was a really lovely show to work on as well.
And where will that come out? Where will we be able to watch that?
I don't have an actual date, for its release, but I think they're done with the post. So I think it's just a case of waiting for it to be released. But I'm excited to see that because I think it's going to feel very different from The Witcher, which is going to be nice to see, I think. And
is that a Netflix? Is that Amazon? Where?
That's a Netflix and a Yellowbird co-pro. So Yellowbird was a company that did the Millennium Trilogy, so Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, all of those films that I just love and adore for their sort of rawness. They did the original Wallander series with Kenneth Branagh, and actually Wallander's been done in many different languages with many different actors, but they own the property, so it's theirs. So it's them and Netflix have come together to do like a watching Wallander grow into who he becomes, which was just a gift to sort of work on, actually. Yeah, really. Yeah.
So let's start with how did you get into casting? We always get asked this question. So what was your journey, and how and why? Why did you do it, Sophie?
Oh, well, I was an actor beforehand, and I mean, and I just realized that this isn't, and many of the people watching will know, it doesn't feel like a meritocratic industry. So the best person doesn't always get the job. And I found that really difficult to get on board with, like a real frustration that, my front door, sorry, I'm not going to go get it. So you're okay.
Parcel, isn't it?
Probably. So I really struggled with that, and I struggled with the fact that it didn't matter whether or not I could act. I mean, honestly, who knows if I was any good or if I wasn't. I mean, I never could get through the door to be seen for anything. So, and then I just thought, I just sort of thought, well, I love the industry. I'm definitely going to stay in it, but I don't know what else I can do. Somebody once said to me, if you want money, you become an agent. If you want power, you become a casting director. And power sounded really good when I come from being an actor, and I didn't feel like I had any. So went into casting, and now I realize that no one has any power. So we're all just sort of singing for our supper. But I sort of eventually, after about sort of 3 years of doing it, I sort of sewed myself into the fabric of casting, and I sort of really understood that it was something that really excited me, and that I could do it, and yeah, wasn't so heartbreaking about acting at that point. So
both Rosie and I started as actors and then went into casting. And I think that we definitely have our own approach to that, where I know all casting directors have this, but I'm not talking about us, but in terms of like having been in that room and on that side of it, I think that every time an actor walks into the room, we are literally, if we could hold up banners for them, we would. You know, it's that kind of feel. Do you have that feeling?
I found some frames on the floor when I first started out, and I put posters in them that said, like, be brave, and even if you don't feel brave, pretend to be. No one else can tell the difference. So I actually have posters to like try and inspire them. What made you leave acting and go into casting? Am I allowed to ask that question?
Yeah, of course you can. I'd done through my career and Rosie's as well. We both directed and produced and written and so on. So we'd always been on that kind of side of the creative table, I suppose you could put it. And for me, for both of us, we were away a lot, and we wanted some more stability in terms of not job security, certainly not that, but because we're casting directors, what are we doing? But certainly within that, you know, touring and being away, and so and we were actually working in the cruise industry at the time. We'd both done plays and bits of TV and West End and tours and such, but we're working on the cruise ships and having a wonderful time working with some incredible talent, and we felt very passionate about that industry and felt that it was underrepresented in terms of how it was perceived in the industry. And so that's how we got into casting. We started casting for Norwegian Cruise Line, and then it just grew from there, and that's where we are today. So but yeah, and I think also both of us love teaching, and we love that finding talent, and we love nurturing and really kind of like finding someone that a bit like yourself that hasn't been able to get in the room, and so that became very addictive, I suppose, in I guess helping.
Was there a moment for you when you thought, yes, okay, now I'm right where I should be? Was there that defining moment?
Yeah, I think for both of us, pretty much after that very first casting, we cast Legally Blonde, and for the ship, they were doing the show on the ship, and it just felt really right. Good. And that was it, really, and we love it, you know.
Are there perks to get to go on the ship and have a little cruise around and watch the show?
Say that again. Do we ever get on that?
Oh.
No, I know, dreary.
Wait, that seems unfair.
Massively unfair. Yeah, there we go. You know, we watch the videos. You know, that's kind of how it is, I suppose. And you've cast, as well as the TV, you've cast theatre as well, haven't you?
Yes, I love theatre. In actual fact, theatre makes me more nervous because I'm definitely less. I'm more outside of my comfort zone. So for example, during the lockdown, we were halfway through casting Hamlet at the Young Vic, which, I mean, oh my gosh, when I got that job, I was like, are you serious? I mean, yeah, amazing. But I was more nervous of it because, I don't know, like you sort of think, oh, does that need a different skill set? Can I use my skill set to cast it? And so yeah, I'm more nervous of theatre, but I love it. It's sort of where my passion grew from. So even though my experience is in TV, and I think actually I find lots of talent from the theatre, and I tend to put it in screen because I feel like I understand it more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And do you find there's a different, so with that, do you find that your process is different with the TV casting over the theatre casting? I mean, I suppose it's finding talent, isn't it? But is there like, do you feel there's a difference in the process?
So I to be completely transparent, yes and no. So the first time, I remember the first time I did a sort of big show at the Almeida, which was against with Ben Whishaw, and I remember approaching that very differently because I felt so out of my comfort zone. So I remember sort of doing pre-meets before I because I was nervous, and I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know the play I felt was slightly like above me intellectually, so I had to like read it 5 times before I understood it, and so I felt slightly like I was treading water. But Ian Rickson was the director at the time, who was so nurturing that he kind of, he was okay with however the winding the process seemed to be. This time now, you know, cut to many years later when I'm working on Hamlet, I kind of took a deep breath and I thought, okay, like you've spent however many years doing this, like now it's time to trust your instinct. So I approached it in exactly the same way, but now we'll never know if I was right or wrong, because like we don't know when that show's going to come out. So well, we'll know eventually, but we won't know for a little while. So
I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. That's the What do you feel on opening night? Because I can't breathe or speak.
I can't bear it, actually. I start to sweat. I feel really uncomfortable. I kind of wish I wasn't there on press night. Opening nights are kind of fine because I go and I feel slightly more anonymous, but press nights really make me nervous. It's like the day when the show comes out on TV that you're casting. Like, I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. That's sad, isn't it?
It's like actors saying they never watch their own work, isn't it? You know,
I can understand it. I can understand it. And the point is, I think what I haven't got used to yet is like releasing it and saying, listen, I did my part. Now it's not what will be. I'm not there yet. I'm too in the fabric of it. It's hard to sort of separate myself.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that would ever come. I don't know if that separation would ever, do you know what I mean? It's like,
no.
Do you get nervous first day of casting? Because again, we don't sleep the night before our first day. If we've got like a series of casting coming up, we have all this kind of like, have we done enough? Have we seen enough people? What have we done? Do we have enough? Do we have all the roles? All of that kind of stress.
I mean, all of that, I feel exactly the same way. And in fact, I've been talking sort of in the last couple of days about I'm so overly critical about my work that sometimes it's very hard to see the wood from the trees because I can only see the detail rather than stepping back and seeing the whole thing in front of me. And in that detail, I think, well, no, I made that mistake. I should have worked harder on that. Or, you know what I mean? It's just you fall in love, don't you? And bearing in mind, like casting directors are the first people on and sometimes the last people off. Like you work for a year and a half on some shows. Sometimes you like they become part of your family, and then obviously, and what makes it so funny, I guess, is that then they go off and film. Everybody films it completely separately from you. You're in an office completely separately from production, and you, they don't know you.
No.
Or wrap party, they don't know who you are. Like they had maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 meetings with you and they loved you in that moment, but then of course they've gone off and made amazing relationships, as they should, with each other and directors and stuff like that, and then they don't remember who you are, and that feels like, I
know we teleport opening nights and it's going on, so who are you? We're like, oh, we're just the casting directors. And
I go up and introduce myself to actors, which feels so crazy. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
it is a weird one. It definitely is a weird one. It's a really funny feeling. And you know, we say this to a lot of actors that on that first day, you know, we're nervous because you know the director wants to make sure they get their cast, and the producer wants to make sure it's in budget, and all these kind of things, and we just take on all this anxiety. Is Faye your opposite then? Does she kind of control your detail?
No, Faye and I are so similar. It's crazy. But she, I don't know, we're a really good pairing. We're very similar in that we're both very loyal. We both work extremely hard. We both really care, but we are both hot. So we, like Finian, now it was my dear associate, has gone off and quite rightly started a company of his own. But we always joked that he was the ice to our fire. So, you know, the wheels are off now. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, like what, yeah.
Oh no.
I don't know. But, you know,
disaster.
And actually what's brilliant about Faye, I mean, not only is she hilarious and very dear to my heart, but she also was an agent before. So she brings in this wonderful perspective, which I didn't have no idea about, that sees it from a different side of things. And so I've really been able to learn from her as well, which I think is amazing, actually.
It's good to have. So obviously we're in a world of self-taping right now, and that is going to be I know TV and film definitely has had it for a long time, and people really know that as part of their craft now. Theatre, some. Musical theatre almost is really low, but certainly coming back from from this lockdown situation, I think that we certainly will be. We're excited actually about. I'm just going to close my window. 1 second. I think that's Piers Morgan flying overhead in his helicopter or whatever it is. I don't know. He lives around here or something. Anyway, we certainly, we're excited about it because it allows us to see a lot more people and save their travel and save those train fares and things for those initial stages. Certainly, sure. When we get into the finals, we want to see people live and feel their energy, and that's the only way we can do it. Certainly for live theatre. So self-tapes, what do you look for? What are your don'ts? The do's are kind of a given, I would say, but what are the don'ts in that?
That's a really good thing. And actually, this is going to put some people at an advantage and some people at a real disadvantage. The advantage is obvious, like you have control over the material that you send out. You don't need to worry so much about nerves. But I guess that the don'ts are really simple. Don't film in portrait. Like, we don't watch TV in portrait. As you can see on these screens, they're in landscape. Do have good lighting. Make sure we can see your face, and most specifically your eyes. For me, I don't know if you feel the same, but everything is always read through the eyes. I think I would think it was hard to get it wrong. What do you think?
I think I think like you're saying, landscape, a clear background, just so that it's peaceful for us to watch, not massively busy, just be seen and be heard. It's incredible how you get some and it's like people are in fish bowls and you're like, what am I supposed to do with that?
So crazy. And also, like, you can see, so basically somebody once said to me, this, you want to see as little of this as you can. So probably framing wise, I would go something like that.
Yeah.
And also, like, I wouldn't eyeball the lens here, but I might go there. So you have like a clear, I don't know what I look like.
We have this thing where if you cut, get a magazine, cut a face out of the front of a magazine, or the eyes, and put them up. So if you have people to actually look at, so it looks like
so smart. Yes,
engaging them.
You can take time over it. Like, that's the beauty of it. I mean, actually, in many ways, it makes our job a little harder because I don't know how you feel, but like, I always want to make sure that the team I put on to set is a team that people will want to work with, and a lot of that comes from reading people's energy and getting to know them, which is just easier in the room. Yeah. And also, like, they're at a disadvantage because obviously we can't give them the tone of the piece, which I think is really important, or like whisper like information into their ears, which we do quite a lot. Obviously, that never happens, but we do it quite a lot. But at the same time, like, you can spend time over it, you can be creative over it, you can really think about it, you can read all the material, you know what I mean? There's no rush. That, like, you shouldn't really go wrong, theoretically.
Theoretically. Oh yes. How important is we get asked this a lot, CV for you? Like, what is it about it? So let's say an actor or an agent sends someone through to you. What are you looking at when you're looking at, like we always say, we're looking at if there's specific skill sets for the role. Okay, so let's say that they have those. What else stands out for you? What is it about an actor that you go, I don't know them, I haven't seen them do anything, their showreel is a bit nasty, but there's something about them?
Yeah. I'm always interested in what roles they've played. I mean, look, we're in a uniquely privileged position where we come from an acting background, and we understand that when you're starting out, or maybe if you don't have the representation that you're happy, that you desire or whatever, that you basically take what you can get, right? I mean, that's I understand that. Look, so I can see from someone's CV, okay, they've done some profit share theatre. Is that still a thing, by the way? Is there still profit share theatre, or no, not really? I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can see like, oh, okay, but they're working, they're trying to hone their craft. So like we can read a CV pretty easily, and then we can see, you know, what sort of roles they've played. So are they playing Lady Macbeth, or are they a teenager and they've played some teenage roles? Or if they've taken very small roles in sort of very big bits of TV, are they trying to, you know, trying to do that? And then you can obviously marry that up normally with their CV to with their show reel to kind of see what they've put on there, like where they see themselves, how they've represented themselves on a show reel. Basically, everything that you put out, a show reel and CV, is a reflection of how you want to sell yourself moving forward. So we can disseminate that information and kind of read between the lines to see where you position yourself. But look, ultimately, we have to see you do it. So if you're starting out and you haven't done anything, really then it becomes not so much about the CV, and then it becomes all about the show reel, the demo reel. And I've been having lots of discussions about this where people are like, I don't have anything, you know, I haven't done anything, I don't have an agent. But I mean, I don't know if you're the same, but I need to see you do it. I'm rarely are you going to come in my room if I haven't seen you speak even. So then it comes about how creative you can be. And actually, I think this marries wonderfully with the fact that people will be doing more self-tapes and having that technical knowledge, because even if you've plucked a scene out of Sex Education and you said, look, I've never done an audition in my life, but this scene really speaks to me, and I've done this character's lines and somebody's reading off camera, and I think I think I've got the scene to a place where I'm happy for you to see it, even if it's that, and I can see you speak, great, because it's my job. I mean, I see actors all day, every day. At this point, if I can't tell if you have something or not, then I'm definitely not in the right career, you know?
Absolutely. Just leading on, how do you feel about when there are castings and it says we really need something, like there's specific things that they need about an actor, and then you get bombarded with things and they don't have that, and from actors, how important is it for actors to really read those posts, if it's, you know, or read those submissions in terms of how does that, because for us it wastes so much of our time if we're looking for somebody specific, and we know, you know, you might be right for something that's coming up down the line, but at that time you're just filling our inbox up and you don't have the correct skill, or certainly you're not representing that you have those on your CV or show reel. How does that, like, you know, because that's I think a big thing that I think sometimes actors should just breathe on something. We know that you want to be in a TV show in the West End, of course you do, but it's important to choose your moment.
Yeah, and I think actually what you said is right. Just breathe, take a breath. Your time will come. Trust. But actually, again, everything that goes out from a business has to represent who you are. If you're sending an ill-timed email that's just going to clog up the casting directors, just think about that in the long term. Take a breath. Your time will come. You have to trust that. There's no, because actually then you're just going to irritate someone, and actually when you are right for something, they're just going to remember you and the other important thing to remember is that casting directors have phenomenal memories. We remember shows from 15 years ago. We have to. That's part of our job. So just opportunities do come around, and sometimes, you know, I'll see people and then I think I just really like them, but I'll have nothing for 4 years. But trust that when that show comes, that I do have something, I will remember. You have to trust that. And it just, or even just think, okay, they're doing that. I'm not right for it. I'm going to give it 2 weeks for them to have a look for that role. And then maybe I'll say, look, I know you're casting that project. I wasn't right for that. I hope you've had success casting that role, but I wanted to flag that I'm so impassioned by this project. And if there's anything that comes up, do you know what I mean? So like, think about it, time it, you know what I mean? Because equally, I do understand actors wanting to be part of it, find an opportunity. Like I do appreciate where it comes from, because we were in the same position, right? We couldn't get a meeting. Like, it's hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. I'm going to move on to a few questions. So it looks like we've got lots. So I'm going to start here. So, hi, Sophie. Thank you for doing this. I have a slight foreign accent, and I was wondering how important it is to get rid of it. What are the chances to get cast when you don't have an RP accent?
Such a good question. So really, first of all, look, if you can get rid of it and it's perfect, great. If you can't quite get rid of it, there's always a thing, just like, it's not going to work in your favor to do a bad RP accent if that's what's required. I can't speak for other offices, but I can certainly speak for my own, I guess, where worlds like The Witcher, you'll have seen, are like really, Europe is our playground. You know, I mean, we want to hear the different accents. We want it to feel like it's a massive, huge world, which is why we've gone all around Europe and Australia and everywhere, and we've picked actors from all over. So for me, I don't have much experience with just demanding an RP accent. And then also for me, RP, I think, is a very confusing term. Very rarely do I want RP unless I'm doing, you know, I don't know, a show like Downton Abbey, where that might be important. But actually finding a neutral Southern British accent, perfecting that is a really difficult thing. But if you are going to do an accent that isn't your own, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect, because the other person, the other end, the producer and everyone else listening, they're going to know, and it's going to irritate their ears.
Absolutely. Enola Dyer says, hi, Sophie and James. Thank you so much for this Q&A. How can you increase your chances of being seen for TV casting when your background on Spotlight is mainly theatre?
Yeah, good. I mean, I think we kind of covered that. I mean, basically, Enola, we have to see you speak, do something on camera. So if you don't have anything, then find a way to get something on tape. And I can't emphasize this enough. I'd rather see 30 seconds of good quality stuff that you think represents who you are and who you want to be as a performer, rather than 3 minutes of like rubbish. I'd rather spend 30 seconds watching you, and 30 seconds is enough. So
people don't actually realize that we make our decisions sometimes in 30 seconds. It's as quick as that.
Sometimes less.
This is from Alicia. Hi, Sophie. What is your advice for an actor who's playing age, gender appearances already oversaturated?
That's a really good question. She means saturated in the market, right? So, for example,
I'm going from her picture where she is blonde, white, 22, I guess. I mean, the picture's so small, so she feels that there's a very large number of people like her. I mean, for me, it's just your talent. It's not that we won't see you. It's just, are you nailing the role? For us, I think that's certainly for us. Just never stop working on your craft, and
and I guess highlight any USPs that you have. I mean, I think by the look of your picture, you've got short hair. That's gorgeous. I don't know if you have any accents, or if you have, if you can speak other languages, or if you have any skills that set you apart. But you're right. That would be oversaturated. And also sometimes,
coming on to what you said earlier, just have 30 seconds of some outstanding material. So if that, it's literally down to that. So you can have 1,500 blonde 20-year-olds, but if you're amazing, then you're leading that market. It's not that we won't watch all 1,500, show reels, because if we're looking for someone that's your type for that role, then you just have to be great. So just really master that self-tape, I guess.
And I mean, James, like you've literally said it, haven't you? Just have to be great. You do have to be good at it. You know what I mean? Sometimes your looks and your appearance and what gender you are isn't enough. Like, you have to be talented, because look, the truth is the entire of this industry is oversaturated. So only talent will get you to that next step. So really what you want to be doing is going right back inside, back to basics, about how your performance is more layered, is more detailed, you've worked on it harder. Like, then you have to understand that basically you're in a competitive market and you have to be better than the person next to you. Simple, kind of.
I think it's we always talk about sports personalities that, you know, they never ever stop training to be at the top. Usain Bolt, I think his first few races, he came 4th and 5th at an international level, and then he trained and trained and trained. So he wasn't fastest when he started. He trained to become, you know, and that's incredible. So obviously he was fast, but he didn't stop training, and I think that has to be related. You have to put that in on us in terms of our the arts, is that think of yourself as an athlete and never stop that working on yourself and improving. Never, just constantly keep growing. Don't sort of go, I've graduated now, so where is it all? You know, I think it's a daily thing. I'm gonna this question, there's a few graduate questions, so I'll pick this one, and this will cover all of the graduates, I think. What's your tip for 2020 graduates in the current climate?
This is a great one, and also because I think, listen, I mean, I think the industry has done a phenomenal job of reaching out to graduates, 2020 graduates in particular, and trying to open their doors. I mean, we've done an initiative called Casting Crushes Corona, where we've offered one-to-ones during lockdown.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I did it, Faye did it, and we had so many brilliant casting directors and showrunners and agents around the world doing it. Warner Brothers have got a thing going for graduates where you can write in. That's all on the internet. So many companies have opened their door. What you want to do, Beck, is you want to take advantage of every single bit of it. Get busy. Wake up, get involved. You know what I mean? It's actually in many ways even more exciting, I think, than just having a showcase where possibly, you know, 20 people come and, you know what I mean, some of your peers get taken by an agency and some of you don't. Like, the doors are wide open, just walk through them.
I think also with that international thing, the world has become so small, is that follow industry in other countries. And when, let's say you get up at, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning here, well, Australia has had its day. So get onto those industry tweets and social medias and find out what they're talking about that day. And then at 10 o'clock at night, America is where you want to be looking. So be chatting and looking at that rather than just getting up and looking at your own country in a sense. You know, you use those time zones to your advantage.
It is a wonderful time also, while the industry has kind of paused, to be as creative as possible. So, and listen, everyone's in a different place, and my headspace changes about 5 times a day. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down, sometimes I want to be in bed lying doing nothing, and sometimes I want to be active. But like, when you feel the urge to be active, like, now's the time to do it. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be a small thing. Like, I don't know, maybe you want, at the moment, maybe you want to learn about George Floyd and how that impacts your thoughts on a piece going forward, and like what you want to say as an artist, or, you know, there's so much going on to sort of soak up as an artist, to inform your soul and your artistic soul. Like, it's a wonderful time to be a graduate, dare I say it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anna, here's a good one. Hi, thanks so much for insight, Sophie. How important does the industry nowadays find social media presence when casting an actor?
Yes. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that producers weren't talking about that being a factor. I'm kind of anti that, because I mean, I was an actor, and I find that slightly insulting, if I'm honest. Like, that adds to my whole, like, that it isn't a meritocratic industry, but I find that worse in a way that you can have, I don't know, 2 million followers, and somehow that puts you above somebody who's just graduated from an esteemed drama school. Like that, I find that really sad. I guess it depends on the project and your casting director, and whether or not they can. So I don't know how you feel, James, but I'm not going to lie and say some producers have brought that to me and flagged it as an important thing, but I have very often just batted it away or sheer ignored it, because it doesn't fit in with my set of ethics that I still want to work from, that I still think is really important, and is informed by my own journey as an actor. So I don't really know how to. I mean, important, but not to me, is probably how I would answer it. James, what do you think?
I agree. I think it's that, oh yes, that's a good idea. Yes, absolutely, we'll bring them in. Of course, yes. Of course, we want them to audition because, you know, we want to make sure they're comfortable with everything. And then the great actor gets it.
Yeah. It just leaves a slightly bad taste in my mouth. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree. Morning, James and Sophie. As a casting assistant and actor, is it possible to do both in parallel, or do you feel you should devote to one or the other?
I think that is probably a conflict of interests, if I'm honest. I think, look, dipping your toes into casting and seeing how it works is actually, I mean, I kind of wish every actor could do it. I think it would really increase our relationship, relationships between actors and casting people, so that you would know what we do and how we do it and why we do it. But I would think having a career in both would be a conflict of interest, because essentially your job is to find actors that are right for the project, but you have a vested interest if you're an actor.
Yeah.
What do you think? Am I allowed to just also, I'm so curious as to your thoughts as well, James. Is it annoying you that I'm asking you, but I'm just like super curious?
No, absolutely not. No, we often have actors say that they're interested in casting, and we say, fine, you start running, and that's outside the room, and you can get a feel for the day, and then you might sit in on some auditions or read for us. But in all honesty, we would never employ an actor in our casting until they literally say, I never want to act again, because you invest so much time in training someone, and you really, you know, put all that effort in, and it is a lot to get someone working right and knowing how you work and all that kind of stuff, to then go, oh, I've just got a part in EastEnders, sorry, I'm out of here. Do you know what I mean? That for us is like, but certainly try it, but then I think you have to make a decision one way or the other for me.
And I also think, like, it takes such passion. Both of these industries are creative in their own right, but in completely different ways. You must be passionate about it. And I feel like it's like having a lover and a husband. I'm not sure that you can successfully have that balance. You know?
Give it a go. I would love to know if you cast internationally, and do you do this only through agents, or could a foreign actor without representation send you material for consideration?
Oh my gosh, you can absolutely send me your, I would love you to send me your material. I mean, I was sort of super cheeky. I was allowed to be super cheeky at the beginning of The Witcher, where we sort of talked about European actors, and I was like, yeah, you know, I just think the only real way for me to like get to know them is to like go over to the countries and spend a couple of days there meeting actors. And God bless them, they did. They flew me over to several European countries, and like I had meetings set up. It was brilliant. So I've been super lucky, and actually, I don't know how you feel, James, but I think it gives me an edge having the knowledge I do about international actors. Whereas when I was training, it was very much like the UK market. These are the actors in the UK. This is what you look at. Whereas actually, I love European actors. And I want to know about them. Like, yeah.
I think for us working, which was something that why we became so passionate, when we working in the cruise industry on our stage, there would be Ukrainians, Russians, Americans, Canadians, Brits, Australians, etc., and that taught me so much about other countries' training, the way they train, what they look for, their styling, both in acting, dance, vocals. So when we came to casting, we were already weirdly international because we'd worked as performers in that. So we were like, right, Ukraine, we know exactly how a Ukraine dancer is trained. We know exactly their style of acting because we'd worked with them already. So we'd worked in this industry weirdly. So, I mean, we are all about international casting. Just you have to be prepared though. At some stage, you will have to fly over for the audition. You know, so start off with the self-tapes, but we're going to have to see you live. So make sure you've got that in your bank as well, because London's cheap.
And actually, like, you're right, like, especially now with the industry being the way it is, and Corona having affected the way we work, the whole world becomes our playground. Like our job is going to change hugely because all of a sudden, like, we aren't going to be sort of locked in by the people that we can get in the room for those first couple of rounds. Like we can go around the world. We can have people meeting like on platforms like this. Like everybody can do it. Like it's amazing. So yeah, please do send over your material. I'd love to see it.
This is from someone in the Ukraine. Hello, my name is Masha and I'm from the Ukraine. What are the best resources for foreigners to find acting jobs, I guess, in the UK? What is the websites that you work for foreign actors? So yeah. Do you use Mandy.com as well as Spotlight?
Yeah, Mandy.com, Spotlight, social media, if I'm honest, are really good ones, especially right now. Gosh, it's a good question. I mean, there are lots. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an expert when it comes to Spotlight. Can you join Spotlight if you're not a UK actor?
I believe there are some countries that you can do that from, but if you go on to Spotlight, just or contact communicate with them, but just Google Spotlight actors and it will come up. And I think the best way is to communicate with them. They'll be able to direct you in the best way, I guess.
Yeah.
But through that and Mandy, you can self-submit. So if you don't have an agent, you can still submit for roles that come in, and it's a nice clean platform to have everything in there. Bryony Duncan, hello Sophie and James. I hope you are both well. What kind of classes would you advise a performer to attend when they haven't had much experience with TV?
Gosh, again, a good question. I mean, look, any class where you're working on your craft is going to be useful. I've been fascinated, and I've said this a few times, I've been fascinated with the whole self-tape challenges that I've seen, because I think that seems like a very clever way of honing your skills from your home where you feel comfortable, and also investing in your career. So I've been, I mean, I know that, but look, because people can't get to classes at the moment, and I'm not familiar with the classes that are available because that's not really part of what I do. But I've been fascinated by the self-tape challenges, and I think there are some that go on for like 21 days or something, where every day you do a self-tape. I mean, I can't get over how clever I think that is, because every day you're going to improve. 21 days of doing your job, 21 days of getting better. Like, people forget, if you're a hairdresser and you cut hair every day, you get better. From the start of 1 year to the end of it, you're going to be a better hairdresser because you're going to be doing it every day. If you're an actor that works on set maybe 3 days a year, how are you expected to be better from January to December if you've only had 3 days practice? A 21-day self-tape challenge like blows my mind.
Yeah, I think that was Manuel Puro. Well, he's certainly one of them. And he says something, as we all do, just learn script every single day, especially for TV and especially for soaps. You know, there's a lovely actor that we know who's in Hollyoaks, and it was her first, she just got it, and we were living in Liverpool, we bumped into her, and she was like, oh my gosh, you know, I got my script, and it was for, I think, some summer scenes or something, or winter scenes, and then the weather changed, so they were like, no, this is it now. And she was from theatre, so she learned everything absolutely bang on. And then suddenly she was handed like 50 new pages to learn for like the next day, and she was like, oh, what do I do? And you can only master that if you're practicing learning scripts every single day. So you can just, you know, or like, again, Manny was saying that you might be in something like The Witcher, and the writers on set, or the director, and you've done such a great job, they're like, I want this character to have a monologue. Go and learn this monologue. Tomorrow we're filming this. It's so, you know, that kind of stuff happens in TV so much. So I think just getting onto learning scripts, and I think there are quite a few TV acting classes out there that you can do. So Bryony, we'll look into it as well. And we're definitely going to be having some here, so we'll be looking at that, which would be amazing. Thanks, Bryony. Jess. Hi, Sophie. Thank you so much for this. Could I ask, please, what would you say makes a good email to a casting director? What catches your eye, and what is important to be included?
Yeah, I think most important is that it's short. very, very short and to the point. We know why you're writing. You're an actor and you want to introduce yourself to us. Of course, we get it 100%. So just literally, I mean, I'm pretty blunt anyway, as anyone will tell you. Just say what you want to say and sign off. Like at the bottom, make sure you've got your contact details, but we'll have it anyway because you'll have emailed us. It has to just be short. We get so many every day and time is always against us, that short and to the point and polite is all it needs to be.
Yeah, definitely. I think for us, when someone sends through their headshot and it's like massive, and a separate CV, and then a link to their Spotlight, and then 2 links to your show reels, if you're on Spotlight, just send that. Everything should just be there, and like you say, just precise, and know what you're writing about.
And then another thing, just because I've had quite a lot of them over recent things, generic ones are asking for advice on acting careers, probably not going to get a response. Like, because it sounds really harsh to say, but it isn't my job. My job is casting. I can advise you on that if something specific, but to give 40 actors advice on acting, it's overwhelming and not my wheelhouse anymore, or ever, in fact.
Absolutely. Matthew Miles, I'm wanting to get a first-time job as a casting assistant. Do I need qualifications such as what NFTS is offering, or am I able to send my CV to casting directors?
First of all, Matthew, welcome. Come over to the dark side. Join us. We love it. First of all, it's amazing that the NFTS are doing the course. I didn't come from that background. There weren't courses available. So I'm still absolutely open to CVs, although I can't speak for any other offices, obviously. I learned on the job. I don't know if it was the same for you, James, but I basically worked for a lot of casting directors, took good things and bad things from each one of those. And I think when you come out of the NFTS course, I understand that you are then a qualified casting assistant. But I mean, the course I think has only just started up, but I don't think you need to. If you can't afford it, and if somebody's willing, and if you're willing to work your way up and maybe start as a runner and then junior assistant, etc., then I think it's okay to learn on the job. And I think it's probably still one of the best ways to do it. I mean, on the job training is such a valuable way of getting it done.
I think for us, just a couple of pointers. Discretion. You have to be so discreet. You cannot be a gossipy person talking about your day. We just never do that. Or watching tapes and things like that. Admin, there's an awful lot of admin involved. So if you don't like, certainly for theatre, if you don't like admin, if you don't like people, it's not a good place to be. But I think sending CVs out, offer to be a runner to start with, offer, or a reader. If you're a confident actor and reader, that's a good way to get in the room, and then build a relationship and bounce between, try and get doing that with lots of casting directors. So then you get a feel for this, because your personality won't necessarily like the way each casting director works. Not that they're not lovely people, just their systems. So, and eventually you'll find one that you do, and that's, I think, quite a good way to do it as well. So,
and it's a tough job, this job that we do. That I think people think it's really easy, but I mean, for every 35 people we might see in a day, I might send up to the production 3 of those, but that's 35 people that we've had to call, 35 agents, we've had to send out 35 emails with the information on. Those people have had to learn it, they've had to come in, they've had to be managed within the room, we've had to see them, we've had to edit their tape, we've had to upload it. There's so much. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint job. Like, it takes so much energy. Like, you have to be sort of ready to it's exhausting, so you have to be ready to dive into that. And you're so right, and the discretion is everything. Like, we have such a firm rule in the office that basically what goes on the office stays in the office, and it doesn't go out beyond that. And everything, like any business, but anything that ever goes out is like approved by the company. You don't want to put negativity out there. I don't want to put negativity out there anyway, you know.
Blackouts. You're not allowed to. If you want to tweet something, we got to see it first before they put anything out, because our clients have rules about how they want to be presented as well. So we've got to be really careful about things like that. One from Sam here. Sam, hi. Have you finished casting Magic Flute and Hamlet?
Well, Hamlet unfortunately was paused, Sam, which has broken my heart, but I've no doubt that it will happen. And the Magic Flute, we're in the final stages now, so nothing we're not done, but it's ongoing.
There we are. Lovely. Here's one. Shea. Hi, Sophie and James. Have you seen many opportunities for BAME? What are your thoughts? I have seen limited, even though I'm British. Luckily, I did TV in 2017-18 and short films. Thank you. Sheila. I hope I said that right. Sheila.
Yeah, it's a beautiful name, actually. Yeah, I've seen a lot of opportunities. I feel like this is more of a specific question, but I'm not sure what the specificity is. I have seen limited. Okay. So is the question actually that you feel?
I think maybe Sheila has seen limited roles. Actually, Sheila, we're going to ask you questions. Answer these questions. So is it specific? Are you saying that you've seen limited breakdowns for BAME actors? Is that what you're saying? So I'll move on and I'll look down and if you could just reply to that, just so we know exactly what we're asking for there, if that's okay.
I wonder if that's more a question. I wonder if she's talking about representation of. I mean, BAME actually, as it transpires, I have learned over lockdown, is not a term that many people think favourably of. But basically, if there are I think what she's saying is she feels there are limited opportunities for Black, Asian, minority ethnic actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, give us the specifics. And sorry that we've not yet answered your question.
Amy, hello. I've often been told that I don't have the right look to audition for lead TV roles. I worry that as a woman, being beautiful means so much. I seem doomed to play maids forever. What can I do? Well,
I mean, listen, they said the same thing to Meryl Streep, hun. So you're in good company. Good that you're not beautiful. Good. Beautiful is a little boring and dime a dozen in this industry. So good that you have an interesting face. Hallelujah. Great. You're human. Brilliant. Like, I often think if the people are just looking for beautiful actors, that's probably a dull role to play. So, hoorah! Yeah. Good. Have an interesting face.
I think that it also comes from what you perceive as well, in the sense that there are plenty of roles out there. So what it seems as though it's the roles that you want, that you desire to play, that you're feeling that you're not fitting into, I guess. But you know, it's like as an artist, you should be a blank canvas, and you're just prepared to take on great. For me, it's important that you don't think of the role, but you think of what you're saying and the text that you've been given. So it's what the actor gets to say, I think, should be more important than the role necessarily. So, I want to be the prince. I want to be the prince. Great, if you love what the prince is saying. Or is it just because you feel that the prince is of a hierarchy to the maid? But if the maid has the best script, surely that's the role you want to play anyway. So I would really look at what the text is and what you get to deliver as well in a role, because, you know, it can be as wonderful, sometimes more interesting, I guess.
And also, you have things in your control and things out of your control. You cannot change your face. Your face is your face. Learn to love it. I have wonky eyes, you can see. Like, I'm okay with that. You know, like, I have other things to offer.
Wonky eyes. Oh, crazy. So here we go. Sebastian. Hi, Sophie. Faye recently, what we've been saying, recently mentioned workshops are a good way, Faye, to be seen and considered by casting directors. But what opportunities are there for those who can't afford these workshops?
Faye. For goodness sake, I mean, workshops are a good way, but yes, and actually workshops are going to be limited, aren't they? Because we're not going to be able to get in the room and do them. And again, I mean, for me, and maybe it's just because I don't know of any others, but the only ways I know, being able to see something that you've done, which I think we've kind of talked about anyway, just like the 30 seconds of something that you think represents you as a business, that is hopefully stuff that you can do in your own house. If you have a phone and a wall and you've been watching some TV that you like that you can steal bits of script from, so that you have something that you can send out is like a super important thing. But also because of the lockdown and because people in the industry have been so generous with their time, there have been opportunities that are really lovely. And there are ways of finding those opportunities. So James, you talked about industries that are putting things on their social media and not just in Britain, but around the world. So hopefully those opportunities are free and affordable. But historically, this has been an industry where it's cost an awful lot of money to be a part of. That is changing, but slowly. But what it's done is it's locked out certain opportunities for people who aren't in a position to pay for drama school auditions that were incredibly expensive at one point, and now it's just slightly changing. So I think there is a change coming, but you're right to flag, and I'll have a word with Faye later.
Faye. Honestly, Faye. Okay, so Elena, hi Sophie. How much does weight play in getting a role or stopping you from getting it? These are good questions today. Lately, plus size has been in, but what advice would you have for people who aren't either thin or plus size?
God, it's a really good question. Again, there are some things you can't change or you don't have to change. I remember a few years ago for young men, it was important that they were in shape. I don't know if that's still the case. I guess what I would say, again, it comes down to, in my opinion, all about the things you control and the things you can't control. I wouldn't worry about that, what you look like. I would worry about who you are as an artist. That is most important to me. And it should, I hope, and I understand that we live in a world that is really unforgiving, especially to women, I think. But I think concentrate on being the best actor you can be, because talent will rise. It will rise. And don't worry, and just stop buying, all those magazines with emaciated models on them. It just sets the wrong tone for, honestly, society in general, in my opinion. But yeah, sorry, that's probably not very helpful.
It's good.
I think it's part of the bigger question, honestly. I think it's part of, like, we're asking the wrong questions if we're worried about how beautiful we are and how thin we are. It's not, we shouldn't be even giving that time. Not to say that you shouldn't ask the question. You should actually absolutely
agree. Yes, exactly.
Tone. But yeah.
Nice. Hi, Sophie. Thanks so much for doing this. What is your advice for non-London based actors and how to get in the room with? I mean, we've kind of covered a lot of that with the Selftapes thing, but just to highlight, I guess.
And don't worry, Ed, no one's getting in the room with me for quite some time. Like, we're not going to be doing it. So don't worry about it right now. Yes, but I think we've kind of given some tips there that might be helpful. But of course, if we haven't, let us know.
There are lots of questions here that I'm not going to bring up, guys, on the screen, because we have kind of covered it. Like, I took a break from the industry. How do I get show reels? Things like that. So if I'm not bringing your question up, we have covered it. If you've missed it, remember, these live in our YouTube channel, so you can go back and rewatch this. So if you've only just joined and you missed sort of first 30 minutes or whatever it is, it's going to be on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it at your own leisure. So just to highlight, don't think we're being rude. We've been talking a lot about things, so I just don't want us to have to sit here and repeat too much about things. Shay's back. Thank you both. Yes, I have seen limited roles opportunities in TV and theatre for BAME. I dislike the term myself. Yes, absolutely. It has been difficult for me to obtain enough credits for Spotlight due to this.
Interesting. So here's what I think. I think that there hasn't, in my opinion, been enough representational casting out there. And by representation, I mean represent the world that we truly live in. I think casting directors are in a uniquely privileged position to have those conversations with the teams that we work with. And by that, I mean, for example, you know, why not have this actor be of Indian descent? Why not have this? Like, we are in a uniquely positioned, but I think the question is that, yes, well, the answer is, in my opinion, yes. I think BAME actors, for want of just a more specific term, I understand why we're using BAME, but really we're talking about actors of different heritage, aren't we, other than Caucasian. So I think there needs to be work done, and I think we're in a really good position to do it. I'm sure you felt that there have been limited roles, because I think you're probably right. Really, it's about what we do about that moving forward. And I think, honestly, to keep having the conversation, to keep flagging it, to keep, you know, ultimately, well, we say ultimately, it feels a little easy, like I'm brushing off the responsibility, but ultimately we don't get to choose the actor who gets the job. That, you know, it does come down to the production, but I think some productions are better at it than others. And I guess
something in, Sophie. It's another question for you, actually, Shay. So I'd love to answer this. Almost, actually, every single breakdown that Pearson Casting puts out, there's a box on Spotlight where it says we are looking for actors of any ethnicity for this role, any ethnicity. And sometimes we don't get a large number of submissions, and so it's frustrating for us, because we truly mean, just because maybe it's not been done in the past that way, we absolutely 100% want any ethnicity submitted for the role. And we did a casting a few years ago for a production, and that's how we put the breakdown out. We were looking for roles of all ethnicities. And once we cast a black actor in one of the lead roles, and we put another breakdown out because it was the second phase of casting. Once that was in place, we got a much larger number of people from varying ethnicities apply with still the same thing. So we won't always put a casting breakdown out saying BAME actors for this role. We absolutely genuinely want a lead role that you may not think has been, you know, okay, we're using the term BAME in the past, but just because of that, don't not submit yourself for it. Don't not let your agent not submit yourself for it. If we put any ethnicity, we absolutely want that. So I'd love to know, you can answer this, Shay, if you see that in the breakdown, do you put yourself forward for it, or are you only waiting for us to ask you for BAME roles? Because that's us as customers to learn how to with you and make sure that you believe us that we genuinely want any ethnicity for those roles. So I would love for you to answer that question to help us communicate with you, in that please don't not submit yourself because we haven't said that this role is a BAME role or that we want BAME artists. We want artists of all ethnicities for everything that we cast. So I'd love some help from you with that. What do you think, Soph?
I think you're right. I also think, oh God, and this is like such a hot time to even have this conversation, so I don't even know why I'm about to say the sentence I'm about to say, but I think another problem is that this industry hasn't been, I would say, open to enough people from varying heritages and varying ethnicities as it should have been. But I think it's priced people out of coming in. And I think, for example, changing, I think it's systemic is what I'm saying. I think it comes right from the root. And I don't think it's about whether or not they're submitting themselves. I think there's less talent for ethnic minorities because it hasn't been as accessible for them. And that's something that's in the system that needs to be changed. And I think it comes right down to I talk about drama school because I think that's the entry point for most people. You think, oh, I want to be an actor. Where do you go? You go to drama school. Okay, like one audition. I mean, I know it's changing now, but one audition in my day was £60, and that was like, I wanted to audition for Royal Scots. Like, that's not just £60, is it? It's £60 plus £100 train fare plus the, you know what I mean? Like, it's priced people out of the market, so that really it is an industry that is open to white privileged people. So listen, I think this is like a bigger conversation, and right now it's just such a hot topic. I'd rather sort of not go any further into it. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, I think the problem is systemic, and I think we need to talk about it. But I can only control the bit that I can control, which is to like push where possible to change the roles or ask the questions like, why not? But I think ultimately the whole system is kind of broken. And in a way, what's great is that with coronavirus and with everything happening around the world right now, I think we've gotten to the point where like, oh, we've tried to fix the machine to make it work. It isn't working. We need to disassemble it and we need to rebuild it in a smarter way. I mean, like, sorry, this is like, I'm probably making no sense.
No, absolutely making sense. Moving on, just a couple of things. The 21-day self-tape challenge was awesome. And it appears it was Manny's. Yes, I've done 21, and they're yeah, great, wonderful. Yes, wonderful. The true self-tape challenges are great. So that's a real positive there.
But like, I think like that seems to be a smart way to spend your money if you can afford it.
Definitely. Hi, Sophie and James. I was wondering what makes you, and maybe the director as well, to trust a new talent to give that person a job in an important movie, TV show next to someone super well known? Good question.
What makes you trust? Well, I mean, I've tried them out at that point, Salome. So I've made sure that they can do it. I've seen them more than once, and I've challenged them, and I've given them many scenes to do, and we've worked through it together. And normally at that point, so if it's a lead role, like we've seen them so many times and we've tested them and we've shown that they can do it, which really goes back to our original comment of like, have to be good. You have to fully know the role you're stepping into, and that takes prep work and intelligence and all of those things. Like, you've had to work really hard at that point. So it's not really about trust. It's like they've proven they can do it at that point, I think.
Bang on advice. Love it. There we go. Love it. Just looking down through some more things here. So hi Sophie. My question is about accents. I have a Geordie accent, but I worry that I'll only be cast as that. Is learning other accents of perfection going to open my doors for me?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, like, so for example, in a really big obvious example would be like pilot season. Like if you're going to be doing a show for America, your American accent has to be perfect, flawless, because the people who watch the tapes, who make the decision, they are American, they know an American accent when they hear it. There's no point in like it not being perfect and that being an issue, because that's what it is. It becomes an issue. So yes, it will open doors for you. Of course it will, I would say.
Apparently you are making perfect sense, definitely. So there we go.
Honestly, sometimes I think I talk absolute rubbish. So thanks for just hanging in there with me, guys.
Sometimes I speak and forget what I've just said. It's just like it just comes out. We need to have more conversations like this within the industry. Thank you.
The problem is, James, and I'm just going to be fully honest with you, is I do not think that I am particularly bright, but I know how I feel about things, and sometimes I'm not an actor, I'm not someone who uses words, I'm not somebody, that's not really in my tool bag anymore, but I know what I feel. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, right, like
totally agree with you. Sometimes in self-tapes you're asked to talk about yourself. I find this hard. What sort of things? I love it, Heather.
You know we're here. we're doing it. We find it very difficult.
What sort of things should I talk about other than credits and experience?
Do you know what? If you're asked to talk about yourself, I would avoid credits and experience like the plague. I would talk, if it's about yourself and just to get to know you, I would talk about something completely different. Like, what's on your mind right now, Heather? Like, that for me would be far more interesting than, you know, I did a play when I was a blah, 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 blah. Like, what's on your mind right now? I remember once when I auditioned for drama school and them saying, like, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I remember telling them about a sad little Christmas tree that I just bought. And but I just thought, like, it's human, right? Like, we want to get to know you. And that is going to become so important if all we can do is cast off tapes and we want to get to know you. We want to put you on set and make you a family with the other people. Like, getting a sense of who you really are is probably more important. And maybe sometimes if it's just about something fleeting or that's happening in your life right then, it's probably going to feel more true and honest. But maybe that's wrong advice. Is that bad advice, James? What would be your...
No, absolutely not. Actually, it leads on to, do you, again, this is the thing I was saying to Sophie earlier, everyone listening out there, that I think casting directors as a rule agree to about 95% of everything we're kind of the same on. And then there's a 5% of how we like to do things, how we run our office. So, you know, some casting directors will say a little bit about you on at the front of your show reel. Manuel the other day was saying, don't do that. I only want to see the character. So I think that leads on to really what also what Manuel was saying when we were talking about this earlier, is really make sure you read the instructions from the casting director. That's a big thing, isn't it? Yeah,
I think so. And I think you're absolutely right. Like, horses for courses, isn't it? But also you're right in when you say like 95%, it's all the same. Like, and actually the rest of it is about how that casting director wants to paint their palette of the show. So like James and I might be given exactly the same script, but the end result would be very different because creatively we're two different people. Like, you give two artists a paintbrush and their pictures of a landscape will be completely different because it's their style. But good actors we'd agree on, I'm sure. You know what I mean? We like so-and-so, yeah, we like so-and-so as well. But then it's like, when you put the world together as a casting director, I guess that's where the difference is, you know?
Yes, definitely. How do you, what's your thing with like wild cards? When you find that person, you're like, these people are so outside the brief, but they are just so exciting and great.
Yeah.
Two things. How do you work with that and feel with that? And is that something that excites you? And how often has that person gone on to get the role if you've done that?
Such a good question. First of all, of course, oh my God, that's when it really becomes magic. Like, when you've not been able to intellectually foresee the role and somebody's come in and they've gone, no, like, here's the rule book, tear it up, let me do it my way. And you've gone, oh, okay, I like it. I'd say more often than not do they end up getting the role.
Yeah.
But also, I guess that's where we do have a little power, because we can put it forward or hold it back. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which that's really the only section of the process where we have any kind of say, where we can kind of mold things to our liking. But I'd say more often than not, when you feel that wild card and it's electric, the producers are going to feel it as well. You know,
we always plant them in kind of part way through the audition process. Never at the beginning. Don't scare them. Never first day. But we kind of load them up for like day 3 or something. And
I didn't even think to do that. Of course.
It becomes like a little mic drop in the middle of the week where they go, right, that's the person. This is where we're going. And you just kind of go mic drop and they go, oh, that's thrown. Oh, now everything changes.
I'm stealing that, James, and I'm using it in my company now. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what is the best thing you have learned as an actor and as a casting director to get through the industry and receive the success you have had so far?
That's a good question. And when I have success, I'll let you know. No, I'm just kidding. I am very I work really hard. That's the only way I know how to do it. And I'm not good enough to do like 7 or 8 projects at the same time. Like, I need to be fully immersed in whatever I'm doing. I need to literally sort of put my feet right in the center of it and build it up right from the ground up. And I honestly do think that hard work and that persistence, and also as a casting director, and I'm sure you felt this, James, like when you walk into a project, you can't walk out. Like, you can't say, oh, actually that role's too hard, I don't want to cast that anymore, like, or that's too difficult, I can't do it. Like, you have to do it. So that ceaseless work, that energy, that plodding energy, and that's why I talked sort of briefly about it earlier when I said it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like, you must keep going. That element, I think, is what has given me the opportunities that I've had. I think, and that's
Rosie and I head up projects. So if we're working on multiple projects, Rosie will head one up, I'll head the other up. And if we come to that wall, we swap. We'll not swap, but we swap for like a day or something to get those fresh eyes and to get that fresh sense into it, to find that incredibly difficult role, or you're just not, like, you just get blinkered through tiredness or stress or whatever it is, and you're like, come and look at this, let me do something mundane on yours, just need to, and we do that, and that really, really helps. I think watch Arlene Phillips's stream video, which is on our YouTube channel. It's inspiring because all she talks about is hard work. Everything she got was through hard work. It was not at one point through her career was it not to do with hard work that she gained her success. And also that through those successes, having massive doubts about yourself and just every day getting up and wondering why that happened is a massive thing. I think, you know, through, as an actor and through casting, we've had, I always said to myself, I never want to find any form of success through luck. I want to know what it feels like, you know, and it's through hard work. But we've had big knocks, you know, we've had the shows closed, we've had as an actor, I've been through all of that. So you just have to dig so deep inside yourself to go, okay, today is a duvet day. I eat way too many carbs and drink way too much wine, and then tomorrow I just have to get up, and if this is what I want to do, if this is my life, then I've got to get up and I've got to get back into my position, and you just have to drive on. It's all hard work, you know. It's always interesting, isn't it? The iceberg, I think, is the best example. You know, the top of the iceberg of what people see. You don't see what people have done to get to anywhere within their careers. But also, for me, success is waking up every day going, I love what I'm doing today. I don't think success is something because of what we're casting or what I'm acting in. It's success is that I wake up today and go, I'm happy today, and that for me is success.
And I think you're absolutely right. And I think actually another good one is social media. I think everybody's social media can look sometimes like life is perfect. Like, look at me, oh, I'm at a premiere, oh, I'm wearing a really nice dress, or my hair's been done. But actually the reality of that person's life is like probably no different from your next door neighbors. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And you're right. Nothing is like, people, you know, if people say, oh, like, you're so lucky, I'm like, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Like, you better believe it, hun. Like, I wake up and do my nails and lie in bed. Like, no, like, I'm a grafter, and I take pride in that. Like, I come from a working class family, a single mother. Like, she taught me to work hard. I work hard and I never stop, never. So
simple as that. Okay, we're now on to religion. What's going on, Megan? If you have a faith religion and there's certain things you can't do as it conflicts with your religion, how do you go about this in an audition job?
Well, that's such a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I'd ask the question, why would you want to do a job that would challenge your religion? Like, I don't cast things that challenge my beliefs. So if I ever sat down with a producer and said, we will not have any let's use the term BAME, even though we all hate it, BAME performance in this, we'd go, thank you so very much. And we would walk away from it. So we wouldn't put ourselves in that position. That would never, like, you know, when we interview for jobs, if I don't like what's going on, we don't take them.
But let me challenge you. If you're a practicing Muslim and you take a character that is an alcoholic drug taker, it's a conflict, but why should they not be an actor, right? So then I guess it's about the line that you draw. What you're
1 second, will you just...
Oh, so sorry.
Sophie, you just broke up just as you were about to say that. So you're a Muslim actor. Just repeat that again. We lost you.
You're a Muslim actor who's asked to portray a character who's an alcoholic drug user. But you deserve to be an actor, of course. That's the way your creative heart is. But you don't feel that you can portray that character on screen. And that's where the line is. It becomes about what is acceptable to you and what is not acceptable to you. But you must remember that the writers will feel, production may feel, that they can't curb their ability to create wherever that character goes because of the actor playing it. And that's where you'll see, I guess, the line, what you're prepared to do and what you're not prepared to do, what you're comfortable doing, what you're not comfortable doing. And I guess then it becomes about when you say that. So for example, you'll have the information for the character when you get offered it, Megan, and you will get offered that job. When you get offered it, you say, great, I see nothing in this that I feel uncomfortable with, so I'd love to take it, but I also want to flag that I am whatever, blah, 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 practicing whatever religion you may have, and that's important to me. And then it becomes a conversation. I also feel quite strongly you shouldn't have to flag it up front, because it should be your right to, as an artist, to audition for jobs that you want. But eventually it becomes a collaboration. It should always be a collaboration, in my opinion. But it's a really interesting question.
Yeah, honestly, I just think that, you know, let's go to a more simple place of, you know, we say a lot that you're not right for every role as an actor. So, for example, in musical theatre, no one has a vocal that can play the lead in every musical ever written. That person doesn't exist. They may not look quite right for some roles. They might look way too young, or their voices, whatever it is. And I think that's the way to approach it, in my mind, is that if it's that example that Sophie's just given, like, are you wanting to do that role to make a point about that? Because that is, you know, the brief is there, and the brief will say this role is an alcoholic drug user. And if it's so against your religion, I guess the question back to you is why would you want to take on that role? Or would you want to take the role on and want them to change the writing? If you're comfortable playing it, then fantastic. Like what you just said, an artist. So if you're able to go, yeah, these are my beliefs, but this is just a role, it's just acting, and I want to be a part of that, great. But if it does offend you, then I would, I don't know, take yourself out of it. Just like I wouldn't take on a job that would offend me, I guess.
It's okay. It's okay not to want to portray a paedophile.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay if that's something that you don't feel comfortable doing. Oh my gosh, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, and it really has to be you as an artist having control in that way, like to pick the roles that you want to play. I mean, you know, gosh, when we get to that position, like, oh my gosh, brilliant. But like, it's okay if you don't agree with it to say, no, actually, I'm going to pass on that, but thank you so much, I think. Did we ever hear back from Sheila? I feel like, did we go off on a tangent? Did we ask her a question?
I did, but we haven't.
Oh, she discussed it with us and our answers.
I haven't seen a reply.
Okay.
But maybe we answered it. I hope we answered it. I mean, this is like news night. It's fantastic. Do you know what I mean?
Say it back, we're going to live to regret this interview, and I'm glad it's only up for a month.
No, absolutely not. I'm just looking here. here we go. Shayla. Hey, James and Sophie, some tips for actors not living in the UK. How to become recognised for auditions in London. Just to reiterate, it's basically we covered that. Just show reels. Have a good show reel. You know, something to send off to us. Shayla has said she's given us times. Wow, and I'll be there in a minute, Shayla. Wait 1 second. I'm just trying to scroll back and find. Here we go. 11. So it went.
Oh.
1 second. So I'm doing this. However, many actors are put off by ethnicity not being mentioned. Yes, Sophie, it is systematic, much big. So I think there's another part of an answer, but I'm just trying to find it. Sorry, Shell, I think you did too.
Sometimes actors, if they don't mention it, then they feel like it's going to be Caucasian. Well, that's definitely part of a much bigger conversation. But great.
That's so useful for us to know. Sorry, carry on, Sophie. I'll let you go for it.
But not strange, is it? I mean, but again, part of a much bigger conversation.
Yeah.
And again, and that is right back to the point that it is systemic. But yeah, good. Let's keep talking.
Thank you for answering that, Shayla, because it's something that we certainly within our office, and I'm sure Sophie feels the same, that we're trying to work out this communication where we don't have this communication where we're talking to you, and it's through just emails and things like that, or a breakdown. So that's really intriguing. We are going to work on that, absolutely. What's this? Not a question. I just wanted to thank you both for all the free workshops and chats you've been offering. Really helped my creativity and mental health. Fantastic, thank you. We're just talking about mental health later on today. 1 second, I'm just going to go to the calendar so I don't mess up the time. At 2 o'clock, we have the incredible team from Industry Minds on, so tune in for that most definitely. So we've just got a few minutes left. I want to say thank you so much to everyone, all your questions, everyone tuning in, but absolutely most importantly to Sophie for an incredible hour and a half with us here. Thank you. Your time is so precious. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking the difficult questions, or the questions that made me feel slightly uncomfortable, because look, I honestly believe now is the time to disassemble the system and put it back together in a way that we feel better represents the world that we truly live in. So that's amazing. And we are, I do think, James, in a really privileged position where we should really be spearheading that. And I'm so glad that you're going to have a chat with Industry Minds today, because I feel like what an amazing initiative that is, and it's just some really clever people. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I think what Rosie and I have been talking about is a renaissance of this. The COVID will create a renaissance. It's not going to necessarily be a better or worse industry when we come out of it. It can be different, and it can be different for all the right reasons. And this is our chance, isn't it? It's like a clean slate almost. With
change comes opportunity. So we have to take a breath, not feel the fear, but think, how can we do this better? How can we make this better for us? How can we make it work for us? That's what we need to be doing. In my opinion, that's what we need to be doing.
I've just got this one here. It's a lovely saying, which is a good example of the full work of art with actors from different countries, races, and so on. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Sophie, thank you so much. Fellow CSA members, so we're going to be doing hopefully one from the CSA, one from the CDA, which is the other association we membership of, every couple of weeks. So thank you for your time. Absolutely wonderful. Just stick around in the room. I'm going to take you out for now. What happens when I leave? You get here they come. All these thank yous come through. So absolutely wonderful. Brilliant. Take care. I'm just going to set you off. Absolutely brilliant. Well, that was amazing to have. That was good. That was you know, really got our juices going there with everything in those questions, but that's what it's about, isn't it? It's really important to ask those questions and for us to really question things, and also just to learn from each other. And I think that's really, really special. Yes, so the rest of today coming up after this at 12 o'clock, Carrie-Anne is back with beginners commercial class. Then we have at 2 o'clock mental health Q&A with wonderful industry minds. And then for all you gentlemen out there, at 4 o'clock, exploring male falsetto with the wonderful Alan Richardson. So it's an awesome day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please spread the word. This is kind of hard to get through to people. People still go, sort of the dog thing. It's free, and so just spread the word, please, on all social medias, on Instagram at Collective Creative Initiative, and on Twitter we're at CCI 2020. Please subscribe, tell everyone to subscribe. We're already, Rosie is downstairs as we speak, booking in the next set of practitioners, and it is looking really, really exciting. So thank you, thank you, thank you for this wonderful day. I'm going to awkwardly end the broadcast, as I do